Hi. Hi. How are you guys? So, it seems like what I was doing yesterday doesn't really work. Um, so I don't know why I was so excited about it. I kind of realized that it's now because I did a bookmark that, so I just was building it again and I realized, wait a second, that's actually 0, 0, 0, 0. So there's no, that should be 1. That's what we're aiming at. So cringe here a little bit. So how can we get that to work? Um, let me think. Let me think. Because we're starting off with a zeros in here. It's not a superposition. So the question here still for me is like, shouldn't these be put into superposition? But then we're making it, then we're messing up, because if we put that into superposition, then we're getting some nasty entanglement, and we can't really do that. But what if we now uncompute? Would that work? What happens if we uncompute? Um, what happens if we uncompute? Then we're gonna keep this here. So if we, because that's awkward, because it doesn't seem to match the fact that it feels fairly similar to uh, the inverse of what we did before. Wait a second, what if I just put those in here? But that doesn't help either, right? So I think if I put those holomarts in here, um, yeah, well, because you're doing z operations on something that is on the z-axis is not going to work anyhow. Uh, that's why I was thinking either we turn those into x rotations, x-axis rotations, or 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 we apply a Hadamard here. No, get a 1. I get a 0, 0, 0. And then maybe Hadamards in here. Maybe we do Hadamards everywhere. Does this help? Does this help? Ooh, okay. We're getting something that's a bit of an approximation. What if we get rid of those? Because we assume that the Hadamards have happened already. No, that's not. No. So that would be the equivalent of turning those control. What if we turn those controls into x-axis controls? Now we're talking a bit. Know if that's the right control to use. Yeah, wait a second. So I should get rid of this. No, but that's the same thing. So here, of course, because those are those here are z operations, so that doesn't make any sense. But that's why I was thinking maybe if we would have a superposition to start with, but then it's when you have the nasty entanglement, so you would probably have to uncompute that. Let's try uncomputing. Let's try uncomputing that. So let's go back to the x-axis controls, and now let's try to, how can I do that? Can I just, can I just do this? Yeah. So I just copy each one twice and then move them around. And this one here, hasn't really made any difference. Trying to maybe that whole thing here, that doesn't help either. They're both incoherent, so entangle with other qubits. No. So computing doesn't. Or maybe what I gotta do is the QFT down here again. So what if I now do the QFT here? No, wait a second. So what if I get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. No. I mean, obviously this the thing in here is wrong per se, in that those things are not going to work because we don't have a superposition in here. So here we're on the z-axis, so we're not gonna, those rotations are not gonna have any effect. Now the challenge is if we go ahead with the Hadamard gates layer, then we're getting nasty entanglement, and so we can't really take a look at the result in there. So now the question is, how can we break that entanglement? But but the thing is, it's not solving anything, because you're basically, like, at least amplitudes are not, amplitudes are not defined. Okay, so this is literally incoherent. Doesn't mean the amplitudes are defined, but the phases are not. So this is really incoherent. So if so how would I approach that? What if we change those gates for X gates, X rotations? Would that anyhow? Let's try. So let's get rid of these, and then let's change basically and say, so this is going to be an X gate, this is going to be an X to the minus half, the next to the minus 4, minus 1/4, and that would be an X to the minus 1/8, which I gotta basically make up by saying minus 1/8, right? And so now I'll get rid of this, get rid of this, and take this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. And so if I get rid of these guys, and now I do basically copy that, so, but here we're getting rid of these, here we're getting rid of these and these, and so the only thing we're doing is we're doing like that and doing like that. So we're getting rid of that, getting rid of that, and getting rid of that, and then we're adding one last control knot in here. And so this is this way, the way this works. Is that correct? Or not? Well, now it's incoherent as well. Because effectively we're entangling. So, but if I now apply the QFT again in here, no. just at the point doing things without thinking. That's not good either. So we're getting a similar thing where we're approximating the actual thing. I'm not thinking. At the point I'm not thinking. So this is out, this is out. Okay, so that doesn't take us anywhere. Let's go do undo, until we get back to the Control Z version. So that doesn't definitely work. That definitely doesn't work. What if we've got what if we kind of copy this in here, right? So we've got basically the QFT as well on one. Let's think. Oh, come on, seriously. How would we do that? So how would we approach this? So we've got these superposition, and we are trying to basically maybe the way to go around this would be to actually the whole thing. I think could it be that I need to reverse? No, because Control Z, it shouldn't matter what's the target really. But maybe that should all be in the state 111. No, that should not. But that definitely changes the amplitudes in here, right? So it's not a trivial. Still feel that there should be the input should be in here as well. That's my gut feeling currently. That's currently my gut feeling, that this input should also be here. That we do this way, because the same way that in the inverse that we said, the input must be a superposition, because we gotta start with something, right? To kind of create that wave. And here's the same. It's like you gotta start with something that you want to kind of wrap that you want to kind of wrap it's like we're trying to avoid the swaps, so we're trying to avoid the Hadamard's. And the thing is, doing it this way creates the nasty entanglement as well. But now we can maybe uncompute, and this is maybe gonna. So if we uncompute, so what's gonna happen? These, right? And then we say this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. But it's still incoherent. still incoherent. Oh, sorry. To uncompute, I should flip. No, how do I do that? How was to flip the sign? Was it with Alt? Yeah. So I should do that actually. Interesting. Okay. So now we're talking. Okay, but we basically came back to the original state, which is not what we want. I mean, what kind of makes sense? We're in computing. So what if, now that I figure out how to compute it correctly, if that is simply a layer of Hadamard's, that's not gonna help either, I think. Go back to the original state. So let's go back to having the QFT in there as well, because we're gonna have a starting point. And here it's just at this point it's incoherent, right? Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's just no way to do it unless we measure what happens if you take a look at the what happens with put the different blocks here in here. It's everything messed up. Yeah. It's all entangled. Ugh. How to solve that? It's just simply incoherent. If we take a look at the full system state in here, it's not helpful. It doesn't seem to be helpful either. Huh. Yeah. Unless we gotta do the Hadamard's in here. If we apply, so let me get rid of these. Let me get rid of these. These out, 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 out. The Hadamard somehow. What if I take a look at this thing now? It's still incoherent, yeah? It's still incoherent. Because it's entangled. Damn. Damn, damn, damn. Damn, damn, damn. I'm lacking. So I'm at the point I'm just trying things. Just trying random things. Here's our solution. That's because we've got basically superposition here, so we're doing controls on a superposition, and when we're doing controls on a superposition, then we're generating nasty entanglement. Maybe there's just no way around this. Maybe in this case you gotta do the swaps. So, but then I still, because the swaps are basically as corrections. Yeah. What else could be done? Really? for this to be the true inverse, we would have to maybe do it like that, but it's just incoherent. Uh, and if it's incoherent, simply other than, if you just have like that, uh, but now you're having these in here. This doesn't even change anything. Oh my god. This is really unintuitive. This is really unintuitive. Because I would expect that's these, and then you see, that's the problem, is that when you play with two registers, this is the trick here is like, should the outcome register be initialized somehow so that it works. Again, my intuition tells me there should be a layer of Hanamards in here that is sort of the initial state, and that we're kind of, then ramping around. The problem is the nasty entanglement that this generates, that makes the whole thing incoherent, right? Then if you uncompute, you obviously go back to your initial state, which is not what you want. Which is definitely not what you want. And if I take a look at the overall system, right, and I say, well, this is basically, take a look at the whole system, right, and I'm just focusing on these 4 qubits that are a thing on the top end, right? So this is literally I think that would be kind of that half, yeah. 4 qubits. Is it that? How do you read that? So basically it's from like the 4 zeros on the top to the 4 ones here, right? So it's just it's just the I would need to take a look at the density matrix, maybe, to understand the subsystem. subsystem. But that doesn't tell me anything. Other than the probabilities sort of still spread equally. Oh, sorry, this should be a 0, but it doesn't change anything. Ah. I really don't know if this is even doable. Is this one of these cases where you cannot do an inverse? I mean, unless we're not thinking about inverses and we're thinking about another way to do that, which is kind of not not using these, and then as I said, right, if we change those things for the x, right? So we do these, we do these, we do these, and then we do these, and we modify that to be -1/8, and then we say we get rid of the get rid of the we get rid of this, 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 and so we take this here, we put a control, and then we kind of duplicate these, but then we get rid of this, we get rid of this, and this, and this, and then we move this up, have a final x in here, and have those things be laid out like these. But instead of the control, instead of those controls, we're using maybe I would use the x-axis anti-control. Maybe that will work better. No. But if I use an x-axis control, that seems to give me an approximation, like a fairly good approximation of this being 001. I'm not so sure why though. I think it should still be a, because that's an x-axis control. It's like whether it's plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus, and then we're doing we're rotating along the x-axis here based on that. And so does this approximate well other things? If I say 2, no, that's already bad. If I say 3, that's a disaster. 7, that's a disaster. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work well. I mean, it still says incoherent, right? It still says amplitude not defined. But if it says amplitude not defined, how can still, it says incoherent, so we still shouldn't. Well, because the input that we're using for controls is simply creating entanglement in this case. Yeah, and that that makes the whole thing here difficult. Unless we kind of pause select, right? Unless we kind of say if we would post select, why would I do that this way though? No, 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 no. I don't have the tools that allow me to do that intuitively. So I have to dig deeper into this. But it's definitely not working. But the conclusion of this is basically because of the hotmarts, and this is basically I mean, unless the other at least in the other way around seemed to work, right? So the um, yeah, because basically you can use that as the controls. You can use like a yeah, okay, but it also only will work in the edge cases, so that also doesn't work. If you've got like, yeah, that definitely doesn't work. Like the other way was like, I think it was like doing these. No, oh, sorry. I'll just go back to a state where I had like the Z's. The Z's back. Now I basically say that's out, and I basically what I do is shift all these and actually have it moved this way, right? Yeah. And now say, for example, that well, we needed a Hadamard layer first. And so I was like, yeah, that works. Because basically we've got these, right? But if we have a superposition in here, that's already also not going to work. If we've got something that says, it's a superposition of 1 and 2 maybe, or it's a combination of, say, for example, I don't know. So if I first apply like a half x here, so it's like a 50-50 chance as being 1 or 2. Bam, we get incoherence, so that also doesn't work. Oh man. Well, you know what they say. You always learn something. That definitely doesn't work. That mechanism doesn't work because you're creating entanglement, so it doesn't really work. So it's not that you're trying to compact that; it's that there's no way around it. There's no way around the swap. So you gotta play with the 4 qubits, and then you gotta play with the Hadamard to just wrap things in and out. I think that's the yep, definitely. So I was wrong. Anyway, moving on. Um, I'll try to take a look at these that I basically got today. So I saw. I think it was Malik. Basically, it told me like he shared something with me. The video solution is wrong, by the way. Uploading a video as we speak, where I show why. It doesn't really work for all types of input, so that's definitely good. So but basically I think Malik shared something else. What was that? Where was that? Is this somewhere here? can't find it now. It's not here. It was here. It's not here. I have to find it. Basically, he shared some more insights into. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely Craig's article on building your own QFT. So I will definitely go through this. This is what I'll go through in the next video. Maybe that will help me understand a bit more what you can and what you cannot do. It's a bit old, but I think it's definitely worth it. But it's yeah, so there's no other way to work around this. It seems like cool. Anyway, thanks, and I'll correct that in Twitter definitely.